Welcome back. Well, 3 new coronavirus-related deaths have been recorded in Ontario this weekend, and one of those deaths right here in the city of Toronto. Here to talk more about that and what the city is doing when it comes to the fight against COVID-19, Mayor John Tory joining us via Skype in self-isolation. That continues. Good morning to you, Mayor.
Good morning.
Okay, so I want to begin here when it comes to the first death. Does that change our game plan here at all when it comes to a possible lockdown? That's what a lot of people are asking on Twitter. Why not lock down the city?
Well, first of all, I want to express my condolences and great sadness at the fact that this has been the first Toronto resident who's died. And when you say change our game plan, I think our game plan has always been to try and get people to take this very seriously. And I think we're not necessarily succeeding entirely at that. I think a lot of people have closed businesses. A lot of people have stayed home and done things, but there are still people who are not. There were too many people, not to be a sort of killjoy, but there were too many people in the parks yesterday congregating. There were too many people congregating on sidewalks. There are too many people still going out shopping multiple times in a week when once would be better. And so I will just say that I strongly support any actions that would be undertaken by the other governments, because I think that would be more effective in the cause of careful, comprehensive, things that need to be done in order to emphasize this message and, in fact, have greater compliance. It is a simple thing, it sounds like, to say close the city down. But there's a lot of complexities to this. But I would just say that I'll be very supportive of additional measures that might be taken in the days ahead to achieve what we need to achieve, which is to get more people to stay home, more businesses to stay closed that aren't essential, so that we can stop the spread of this virus and get more people to keep their distance from one another, even when they're out for a walk.
The term essential, Mayor, what is considered an essential service in Toronto?
This has been part of the, the difficulty in just making the decision. People often think it's easy just to say, that everything's essential or everything's not essential. And so you get examples like a Staples store, for example. Right now, with everybody working from home, kids at home, not in school and so on, is a Staples store something that we really need to have happen in order to have people able to live their lives, during the period of time that this emergency lasts. And so people are grappling with that sort of thing. It's fairly obvious things that aren't essential. We've discussed those before, and I think a lot of those things have now closed, whether it's nail salons or hair salons or, a clothing store just now. So I think what we're going to have to do is really see that definition made clearer and broadened out and made more comprehensive. And I think you're going to, hopefully see some of that happen. But I would hope in the meantime, a lot of people can make their own decisions about that, both customers and businesses, and just decide, you know what, in the great scheme of things, we're important, but we're not essential. Close down, stay away, stay home, and just get through this quicker.
And as that definition changes, we are constantly seeing updates that we'll need to adapt to as well. I want to get to a few Twitter questions because there have been many. This first one is coming to us from Chef Keith saying, how do we prevent landlords from asking for all the owed money when eventually those evictions could become allowable again? Because, of course, there are some leniencies now when it comes to rent and what you've been asking of landlords. So that question, how do we prevent that from happening down the way?
Well, we're going to have to work that out, and we're going to have to work it out in a couple of respects. First of all, what leniency our landlords are going to, permit people with respect to the payment of rent, and I'm having a big teleconference with a lot of landlords today to ask that question. Secondly, obviously, deferral of things or leniency on things doesn't necessarily mean, as some of the petitions are suggesting, a rent holiday. If you really think about it, I mean, a rent holiday where people just didn't have to pay any rent for 6 months is not necessarily a feasible, kind of answer either. I mean, these landlords are sometimes small people who have mortgages on these properties and, and so on. So I think we're going to have to answer that question, which is when the leniency period is over, we can't go back to people just being evicted, because that obviously is not going to be an answer. It's going to make more people homeless. And we also can't go back to the point, though, where we just say, well, let's forget about that money that was sort of deferred in some way or other. So we're going to have to work something out that I hope is sensitive to the needs of tenants and their needs for housing and their financial difficulties, but also respectful of the fact that, that not all landlords are great, big, rich companies that can just afford to give money away. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's just honest.
Mayor Tory, we are going to check back in with you on Wednesday, and that is, I believe, your last day in self-isolation?
It is. I get out, as it were, Wednesday night. You
get out Wednesday night. Okay, we'll check in with you on Wednesday morning. And again, thank you for all the work that you're doing, because you are constantly hard at work at home. So appreciate that.
Trying my best. Thank you very much, Melanie.
Thank you. It is 8:26. That's the time right now. We're going to head to a break, and we're going to see you on the other side of this.